Alright, this is the United States Constitution, Article 1, Part 3. There will definitely be a Part 4 because we have been covering so much. Alright, now last time I was talking to you about what happens when Congress actually approves a bill. The bill does not automatically become a law when Congress says, yes, we want that to be a law. No. What happens is they send the bill to the president, and the president has one of two choices. He can either sign it or he can veto it. Now, the thing is, if the president does not sign the bill within 10 days, it automatically becomes law. There is an exception to this, and I'll get into that in just a second. But if the president gets a bill from Congress that's been approved, and he doesn't sign it within 10 days, it automatically becomes law. And I'll talk about the exception in just a second. Alright? Now, if the president says, no, this is not going to work, he vetoes that bill, he sends it back to Congress. Now, whichever House of Congress, now remember, revenue bills have to start in the House of Representatives, but any other bills can start in either House of Congress. You can have a bill start in the Senate, you can have a bill start in the House of Representatives. It doesn't matter which House of Congress the bill starts at, alright? Whichever one started the bill gets the vetoed bill back to them. So let's say the Senate started a bill, they voted it, they said yes, it's okay. They sent it to the House of Representatives, the House of Representatives said yes, it's okay. They sent it to the president says no, it's not okay. Then it gets sent back to the Senate because the Senate started the bill. Alright? So, president vetoes the bill, it gets sent back to the Senate votes on it again with a 2/3 majority, they send it over to the House once again votes on the bill, and it gets a 2/3 majority. Then, only then does it become law. Now, if the president signs a bill instead of vetoes a bill, it automatically becomes law. Okay? Now, I also said that the president can just kind of lollygag around for 10 days and a bill can become law. Now, here's the exception. If at the end of those 10 days, Congress decides to adjourn for a while, well, that bill does not become a law. Alright? So if the president lollygags for 10 days and during those 10 days Congress adjourns, the bill still doesn't become law. Alright. Now, what are the powers of Congress? Okay. Congress can collect taxes. They're the ones that form the IRS. Isn't that nice? And they can collect taxes off of anything and everything. If they want to tax air, they could do it. They have to vote the bill into law, but they could do it. Alright. Now, when they collect these taxes, it's for two purposes. One is to defend our country. How do you think we pay for our United States military? Do we sell breakfast food? I don't think so. We actually have taxes, okay? And they promote the general welfare. This is where the entitlement programs come from. Yes, welfare is part of it, but they're talking about street beautification projects, that kind of thing, transportation. Listen, you don't have good transportation, boy. Yeah. When they're talking about the Federal Aviation Administration, you want the FAA there, or otherwise planes are going to fall out of the air and it's going to be that. So the National Transportation Safety Board, that's why they collect taxes to pay for those people. Your FDA, I mean, gee, do you want to go to your breakfast food and find out that it's all poisoned? I don't think so. So that's why they have an FDA, that kind of thing. So, when we're talking about promoting the general welfare, that's what we're talking about. So yes, you got your entitlement programs, you got your Social Security, but we also have other things like the FDA, the NTSB, FBI. Obviously, you want the FBI out there, that kind of thing. So, now, Congress can also borrow money. They can vote money to be borrowed for paying for all this stuff. They can regulate commerce. Okay? This is very important. Let's say that some company in Texas wants to sell some company in Louisiana honey. Okay? Alright. how much is being paid gets regulated by Congress. Now, I'm not talking about they set the actual price. They just say, okay, if you're charging an exorbitant amount, we're going to say no. All right, so that's where the commerce comes in. They can make sure that nobody's getting really jacked up in prices, that kind of thing. I mean, you can't say, okay, we're going to charge... Texas can't go to say, I'm going to charge Louisiana $100 a gallon for gasoline. Okay? Especially when gasoline from other areas is coming in at like 20 or 30 bucks a gallon. Okay? You just can't do that. So, yeah. Now, Congress could also establish rules of naturalization. They can say, okay, you don't do these certain things, you're not going to be declared a citizen of the United States. They also control immigration and naturalization. Okay, so you're talking about immigration. The president can't set the rules of immigration. Congress sets all that. Doesn't work that way. All right, now. All right. It's Congress establishes the rules of bankruptcy. You ever heard of Chapter 11? That was established by Congress. It was not established by the President or by the Supreme Court. That was established by Congress. Alright, now, here comes the tricky one. It is the United States Congress that's allowed to coin money. Now, the thing is, in the old days, what you were given in the line of money was a certificate saying you owned X amount of gold or X amount of silver. Alright? It was called the gold standard. We don't run by the gold standard anymore. Which, basically, according to our Constitution, is basically illegal. Okay? Now, I know Congress is going to debate that and whatever, but I'm saying that from reading the original U.S. Constitution, basically it is illegal for us to run the Federal Reserve the way we're running it right now. I know I'm going to get a lot of hot mail on this. Fine, I'm telling you. The original design was that you were to get a certificate saying you owned so much gold or so much silver and you had it in the bank. And that was the way that our founding fathers wanted it. We did not want it this way. Okay, now I know Abraham Lincoln did what he did and so on and so forth, and we come up with this Federal Reserve now, but the original intention of the founding fathers was you had a whole bunch of gold, and then you had these little certificates that said you had so much gold. And that's where our dollar bills came in, that's where our coins came in, so on and so forth. Matter of fact, our original coins were actually made out of gold and silver. It's true. Check your history up, you'll find out. Alright, now, fixing standards of weights and measures. This is another power of Congress. Now, this applies really more to the FDA, but it does apply to other industries as well. I would seriously say that you would not want to pick up a box of cereal that says it has 16 ounces of cereal in the box and find out that it only has 12. That'd make you mad, okay? So, whenever a cereal company starts manufacturing their cereal, they have to use weights and measures that have been approved by Congress. They can't cheat the public, because Congress will come in there and clean them out through the FDA. Okay? Alright. Congress is the ones that came up with the FBI and whatever to punish counterfeiters. Okay? And I don't know how the FBI has not always been around, but you got the Securities and Exchange Commission, you've got the FBI, that kind of thing, and these policing agencies were set up by Congress throughout the 200 and some odd years we've been around to specifically punish counterfeiters. Okay, they set up agencies to do just specifically that. Congress set up the agencies, and the agencies are doing their job. At least they're supposed to be doing their job. They're not. They need to be kicked in the butt. Alright. Now, Congress has also establishes post offices. Now, back in the day, there wasn't a whole lot of people, so establishing a post office was not the same as it is today. Actually, the Congress would get a recommendation as to where a post office should be, and what they would do is they'd vote on it and say, okay, that post office. Anymore, if the Congress got a piece of paper saying we need a post office in so-and-so location, they'd probably just sit there and go for it. But that wasn't the case all those years ago. They would have to go through the committees and the whole 9 yards and plan it out. And it was quite a rigmarole back in the old days. Today, if the post office were to come up to the Congress and say, we need a post office in so-and-so location, they'd probably say, put it there. I don't think there'd be a very much big dispute over that. Old days were a little different, but today is not quite the way. All right. The Congress promotes science and useful arts. This is where the copyrights come from, okay? And copyrights are held for a limited period of time, although that limited period of time has become a lot larger since the old days, and I don't think that's really reasonable. Having a copyright for 30 years, that's not so bad. But this over 100 years garbage, okay? If you aren't making anything or you're not producing anything that's going to support you in your latter years, yeah, I'd have to say, wait a minute, okay? We're just getting to the point with these copyrights. It's absurd to hold a copyright that long. All right? They almost need to take the profit part of it and separate it from the artistic form of it. In other words, you can actually use a particular piece of copyright. This is what I think, anyway. After 30 years, somebody could then profit off your copyright, but they couldn't change it in any way. And I think, like I said, I think they really should split it in half between the profit and the artistic value, and say, okay, nobody can change your work for 100 years, but after 30, they can make. I just don't believe in that massive copyright. Copyright garbage should not be a cash cow for everybody. I mean, people are living longer and they're healthier now. If you can't come up with a work within 30 years to support yourself for the next 30, you got a problem. I know I'm going to get a lot of criticism over this, but that's the way it should be. All right? I understand people, even if you wanted to go 40 years, all right? Let's say we want to hold a copyright for 40 years. This 75-year and 100-year garbage is just ridiculous. That's my personal opinion, but it's ridiculous. It didn't used to be that way, but now it is. And I think it's just ridiculous. Alright? You have to kind of adapt the copyright laws to our society as of today. And anyway. Okay. We can constitute... the Congress can constitute tribunals inferior to the Supreme Court. In other words, the Supreme Court can still overturn a tribunal, but the Congress can form tribunals, and they have. Now, what is a tribunal court? Well, this would be the U.S. Court of Military Appeals. Okay, any territorial courts. We own territories in the Virgin Islands. We own territories in Guam. Anybody that need to go to court over them, we go to this territorial court. All right. The U.S. Court of Veterans Appeals would also fall into this category of a tribunal. The U.S. Court of Federal Claims. Now, what is the U.S. Court of Federal Claims? Well, this is the court in which tries to settle tax refund suits, or if there's a breach in a government contract, they're the ones that have to settle that. All right. And then there's, of course, the tax court. All right, and so there you go. Alrighty, you can look all this up for yourself. Alright, now the Congress can also punish piracies and felonies committed on the high seas. In other words, if your ship gets robbed off the coast of the Atlantic Ocean, or if somebody murders an American citizen off the coast of the Pacific Ocean, it is Congress's job to find a way to punish these people. That's their job. Congress has the right to declare war. Boy, this is a big one. Vietnam and Korea were not supposed to have been fought because Congress did not approve of either one. Let me put that clear to you. Korea and Vietnam were never formally declared as wars by the Congress. They were illegal wars. And there are still people out there that need to pay a big price for that. Congress did not approve of either one, and we fought them anyway. That was illegal. And the presidents involved should have been impeached for that. They exercised too much authority. They had no right doing that. And we need to apologize to all those soldiers that we sent over there for having sent them over there in the first place. All right. Now, the Congress has the right to raise and support armies. When it comes to the draft, the Congress did away with the draft back in the 1970s, but they can bring that draft back. Congress can do that. All right, and it is the Congress's responsibility to provide and maintain a Navy. And since the formation of the Air Force, it is also the job of Congress to provide and maintain an Air Force as well. I know that wasn't originally listed in the Constitution, but they have to do that now. Wow, that's a lot of material to cover. All right. Well, hopefully you're well educated. I'll be covering some more things in just a little bit, so stay tuned.